What's up, everybody? My name's Big Cam and welcome back to another movie review, and today we are talking about 2025's Death of a Unicorn, now streaming on HBO Max, and I think it came out last Friday, but I've been meaning to see this all week, and it's labeled as a comedy horror, and I think it does have a very good mix of the two. Initially, when I was watching, I went to go watch it, I thought, I was making it up in my head that it was going to be more horror than comedy, and I was like, I don't want to be scared late at night, trying to go to bed, and I'm haunted by whatever this movie just showed me. And I finally got around to watching it last night, and I did kind of like a double feature yesterday of the two most recent movies streaming on, the streaming platforms. And the first one I did was Death of a Unicorn, and then ended it with Eddie Murphy, Keke Palmer, and Pete Davidson's new film on Amazon Prime, The Pickup, which was also just more of like an action comedy. So I felt like, saying this, it's a great date night double feature, right? Where they're both, maybe 2 hours, just barely 2 hours a piece. So you could spend like a little over 3 hours together and have a little back-to-back double feature. And for the ladies, you can have a little bit more of a horror comedy movie where there's like some scarier elements where you guys are like under the covers going, oh shit, oh god, what's gonna happen? And there's like a few jump scares in Death of a Unicorn. But like you can see a couple of them coming. I think only like one or two of them got me good where I was like, oh shit. But one of them I was like, all right, something's gonna happen, and then it happened. So like, I'm not fully jumping out of my pants, but I'm not a huge jump scare guy or horror for the sake of horror. But I do like tension and, being like on the edge of my seat, like, oh god, I hope these characters survive. And I'm very okay with like a monster, like being scared of that thing, like the werewolf, like a vampire, like a unicorn attacking them. But when it comes to like the haunting of a ghost or like a witch or a clown, I'm out. Like just, comment below if you think the same. But this movie was directed by Alex Schraferman, who I don't recognize from much, and this I think is his directorial debut, and he did not a bad job for like a first-time director. This was great, but starring Paul Rudd as Elliot, his daughter Jenna Ortega, Ridley. Will Poulter was in there as Shepard, or Sheppy, and Will Poulter was hilarious in this movie. Richard E. Grant, Odell, Tia Leoni. Oh, Tia Leoni, isn't she from Jurassic Park 3? No, oh wow, she grew up. She looks much better with longer hair than that little short, terrible haircut she has in Jurassic Park 3. Stephen Park's in there. Anthony Carrigan, who is just Metamorpho in the Superman movie for James Gunn. Anthony Carrigan had a small role, but was also hilarious. Like, there was a great cast to this. It also kind of felt like maybe this was done during COVID at some point, or maybe right after, where they were like in one location and they're kind of locked down and they're like at this mansion and then in the surrounding area in the woods and stuff. But it worked for me. It was quite good, and it was a good way to spend 2 hours, and hang out with this cast that was hilarious and made me laugh, but also made me feel this tension of like, what's going on with these unicorns? And like, honestly, built out this lore for unicorns that I wasn't expecting, where all of a sudden I was like, oh, unicorns are kind of badass. Like I'm kind of here for those little horny fucking horses, if you know what I'm saying. But Jenna Ortega, not my favorite Jenna Ortega role, but she did fine. She was great, and Paul Rudd, not my favorite Paul Rudd role at all. The people that really made this movie for me was Will Poulter and like Anthony Carrigan, and like the little small stuff in this movie is what I loved the most, like he's yelling at him, and he's playing Griff, Anthony Carrigan, he's, Griff! Get that man some swim trunks! He goes, no, I'm good. I don't really want to swim. Cancel the swim trunks! Like, you scream, you could hear echoing, and then like, these fucking horses, all of a sudden keep coming out of nowhere, these fucking unicorns, and you're like, oh boy, I don't know what's going on with these bad boys, but they gotta fix this problem. And then it gave us, a lot more of the unicorns than I expected. I expected it to be like, very sparse and just kind of like, oh, we don't have the budget for that. He's off screen. Nope, sorry, quick, off screen, But there was quite a few points in this where I was like, wow, VFX heavy on the unicorns, and they're really, going for it. And yeah, If you're a unicorn person, this is definitely for you. If you're a horror / comedy person, this is definitely for you. And I highly recommend going and checking it out on HBO Max. Overall, I gave it about 3.5 out of 5 stars, about a 7 out of 10. If I had to give it a true 10 score, probably about a 7 out of 10, honestly. 7.1, 7.2 maybe. But that's another movie review for me. Thank you guys so much for coming on by and checking out this movie review. Go check out Death of a Unicorn, streaming now on HBO Max, and let me know your thoughts on it and comment down in the comment section below. Or if you want to message me on my other social medias, links for those down in the description below. Once again, my name's Bigg Cam. Thank you guys so much for coming on by, and if you made it this far in the video, please consider supporting the channel by liking this video, commenting down in the comment section below, subscribing if you haven't already, hitting that bell so you don't miss future movie reviews and you get the notifications when those come out. And once again, my name's Bigg Cam. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you beautiful people in the next one. Peace!